Today we are learning how to create story maps. Story maps are a type of reading comprehension strategy that helps students identify and organize the different elements of a story through a graphic organizer.
Story maps are utilized to enhance understanding of a story structure and can help you find your way through a narrative. Story maps can be as simple as having students identify the beginning, middle, and end, or a more advanced organizer where a student must identify the plot, character traits, or theme of a story.
Here you have a picture of a map of the world. You use this kind of map to locate countries, important oceans, and landforms. When you create a story map, you are using it to locate the important elements of a story, such as the setting, main characters, problem, and conclusion. Here is another picture of a treasure map. This map contains details needed to find the treasure. Like a story map, you locate the important elements of a story to find an understanding.
By having the students identify the different elements of a story, students are learning how to read carefully for specific details and recognize story structure to enhance comprehension. Students learn to sift through story details and ultimately summarize the most important elements: main idea, character traits, plot, and setting. This strategy is most beneficial for students who struggle with comprehension and identifying important aspects of a story. Story maps can be used over a wide variety of subjects, but for this video, we will be using a story map in correlation to a short story called Tomorrow from the book Days with Frog and Toad, written by Arnold Lobel.
What is story structure, you might ask? Story structure focuses on the fundamental framework that determines the organization of a story and the way in which it is presented to the readers. The 5 elements of story structure include setting, theme, characters, conflict, and plot. The setting focuses on the time and place in which the story takes place. The setting may be in the past, present, and future and can be real or imaginary. The theme is the lesson or underlying message that the author is trying to convey to the readers. The characters include people, animals, or pretend characters that are discussed throughout the story. Characters can be represented as protagonists and antagonists. Protagonists are lead characters in a story, while antagonists are characters that stand in opposition to the characters or the lead character. The conflict is the problem in the story that is trying to be resolved. The plot can be represented as the beginning, middle, and end. It is the sequence of events within the story.
We will be using this particular story map for our short story and demonstration. This story map contains the title and author of the story, the setting, main characters, supporting characters, problem, and solution. Before using the story map, you want to ask your students what makes up a story.
Class, what makes up a story? Mary.
A story is made up of characters, setting, plot, and a conflict.
Great, Mary, you were right. Those are elements of a story. By providing this question, students activate their background knowledge to uncover misconceptions and ideas.
Provide students with a blank story map. It is important for the teacher to explain the importance of using the story map. Pulling out these elements in the story will help students comprehend and identify the main ideas.
Before we create our story map, we need to become familiar with the map and the layout. In the center of our map is the title and author. Above the bubble with the title and author, we see that there are 2 different bubbles for characters. One has a box for the main characters, and the other box is for supporting characters. Mary, what is a supporting character?
Supporting characters are other characters in the story, but not the main characters.
Great. You are right. A supporting character is someone who is important to the story and the main characters, but does not take on the lead role and is not the main focus. Next, we see the bubble for the setting. Mary, what is a setting?
The setting is when and where the story takes place.
You are right. A setting is where the story takes place. Below the setting, we see a box for the problem. This is where we'll write the problem that occurs in the story. Finally, next to the box, we have solution. This is where we'll write what happens in the end and the main idea. Today, we are going to create a story map from the story Tomorrow from the book Days with Frog and Toad. The teacher stops and asks students questions, engaging students in the content over the story map strategy. At this time, the teacher clears any misconceptions or other questions students may have. The teacher will work through each box with the student to familiarize them with the story map so that they can go on and complete the same story map independently with their independent readings. Okay guys, so yesterday we read the story Tomorrow. Can anyone remember what happened in the story?
Toad's house was messy and he didn't want to clean it and he wanted to put it off until tomorrow.
You're right, Mary. Toad did not want to clean up his house and he wanted to wait till tomorrow. Let's take a look at our story map. I'm going to think out loud and write down each section of the box. Let's first start writing down the title and author of the book. The title is Tomorrow by Arnold Lobel. Next, I see two boxes for the characters of the story. I remember that the story was about Toad not wanting to clean his room until tomorrow, and Frog was trying to help him to remind him of all the messy things throughout his house. Okay, so I'm going to write Toad's name in the main characters box because this story was about Toad not wanting to clean. I'm then going to write Frog's name in the supporting characters box. Although Frog was in the story, he was not the main character. Next to Toad's name, I'm going to write down lazy and tired because he did not want to clean his room and he just wanted to stay in bed. Next to Frog's name, I'm going to write tried to help because he wanted to remind Toad of all the messy things that were in his room. All right, so I have the title and author, the main characters, and the supporting characters box filled out. Next, I'm going to do the settings box. I'm going to think about where this story took place. Oh, I remember. The story took place in Toad's messy house. So in the settings box, I'm going to write Toad's messy house. That helps to remind me that his house was not clean and it was dirty. Next, I'm going to go down to the problem and solution. I filled out the settings box. Let's work out as a class how to fill out the problem and solution. Can anyone think of what the problem was in this story?
The problem was that Toad didn't want to clean his house because his house was super messy, but he also didn't want to wait till tomorrow because he wanted to sleep.
Yes, Mary, you are correct. Toad did not want to clean his house. It was so messy, but he realized that if he waited until tomorrow, he'd have to clean it then. So under the problem, I am going to write that Toad did not want to clean his house until tomorrow because he was lazy. After writing this down, what happens in the end of the story, or what would the solution be?
With the help of Frog, Toad realized that if he cleans his house now, he doesn't have to wait until tomorrow to clean it.
Toad did realize that, Mary. With a little help from Frog, Toad decided to clean his room because he realized if he did not do it now, he would have to do it tomorrow. We can write that down as the solution. So let's write, with the help of Frog, Toad realized to clean his room now because he would not have to clean it tomorrow. After filling that out, we have completed our story map. You can use these story maps every day when you are reading to help you understand what is taking place in the text and what the main idea of the story is.
After the teacher works with the students on the story map, the teacher allows students to ask any questions to clear any misconceptions or review each section of the story map to ensure understanding. By providing an opportunity for students to share their knowledge, other groups can fill in areas of the map they might have found challenging and gain a different perspective. Addressing student struggles can provide an opportunity for the teacher to assess what needs to happen next for all students to succeed. After discussion, provide your students with another blank story map to complete on their own in correlation with their independent reading books to practice the use of the strategy. Having the students complete the story map on their own challenges them to use the information they gained during this lesson and apply the strategy to their own independent texts.
The use of story maps can be generalized into different contexts to either help comprehension, math skills, or understanding a sequence of events in history. Story maps can be created based on the targeted skill and a visual representation of their thinking. In reading, teachers can use story maps when teaching students to identify the setting, characters, problem, and plot, as well as identifying the beginning, middle, and end of a story. Using the story maps in reading can increase comprehension and identify elements of a story. In social studies, students can use the format of a story map to explain sequence of events that have taken place in history. Students can use the story maps to plan essays as well during the pre-writing stage. Finally, in math, students can work through open-ended math problems that they can use the format of a story map to work through the stages of the problem. Students can use a simple format of a story map to create their own word problem. Teachers can create the story maps based on the type of word problem being addressed.
In review, make sure that you have a story map picked out for your class to model the use of the strategy and work together as a class to fill out the map. Always stop to engage your students by asking them questions that relate to the story or to the story map. When introducing the story map, make sure you discuss each section of the map to diffuse any confusion. After each section of the map has been identified and discussed, the teacher will then think aloud by working through a few sections of the map to model how to pull key information from the text. Then, ask your students to help fill out the rest of the map. After the map is completed, provide students with the same blank map for them to work on either in small groups or independently with a chosen text.